Well, everyone, I kind of wanted to give a quick breakdown of the Samsung Galaxy S22 and how it's been for the last few months. Now, within the last few months, I've actually used this phone as my main device for a little bit, which was really cool, but there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad with this device right now. Now, I don't really have to go super in-depth about any small integral feature that this thing has. I'm sure a majority of people already know what this phone pretty much brought. I did go ahead and compare this phone against all of the other phones that came out before it and around it, including the Samsung Galaxy S22, S21, S20, S10, S10e, the S9, S8, including a lot of the iPhones as well. And I think the Galaxy S22 definitely held its own. I do think there were a lot of weird things that Samsung did, and it kind of stemmed from that GOS, little thing that came out. So pretty much it was a slowdown that Samsung was doing when you were playing certain games like Genshin Impact and stuff. Personally, I didn't really experience this when I was playing Genshin Impact, and if you watch on my third channel, I made a video about it, and I had a pretty good experience. It looked pretty good, and the graphic settings were very, very high. But to know that we could have gotten even better, performance from it is actually really interesting. And Samsung has since, given us the ability to turn this off, but it is still kind of stained in the legacy of the Galaxy S22 right now, which is kind of weird. Now, that was probably within the first month. Now, the second month, the last month or so, I did go ahead and use this phone for a little bit, for about, I think, 2 or 3 days. And it was a okay experience. It really didn't change my opinion about anything, to be honest. It was pretty much the exact same thing. I'm pretty much using these phones, even if I'm not using them. Sometimes I'm using these phones more than I'm using my own phone because I don't really use my phone too much, so I didn't really notice that big of a difference, to be honest. Still a great phone in my opinion. However, I will say the battery life is one of those things that I still don't understand why Samsung decreased, and I still think that's going to be one thing that's going to plague the S22. I like the better build quality, I love the frosted glass back versus the plastic back on the previous model, but I still think Samsung could have done some better things here and there, at least with the bigger size battery in my opinion. Now, another big thing that's been pretty much coming out is that the sales numbers and the used prices of some of these Galaxy S22s have actually started going down. And every time I go onto the Samsung subreddit or the Android subreddit, I keep seeing more news about the S22 and how it's not selling that well and how it's going down in the used market and how there's a lot of price cuts for this type of device as well. Now, personally, like I said, I'm a fan of the Galaxy S22. I like this phone a lot, but that doesn't mean this phone doesn't have any problems. There definitely are issues with these devices, but there's issues with pretty much any single Samsung phone that Samsung makes. There's typically some random things that come out. There can be some glitches and this and that. And personally, I did experience a lot of glitches with my Galaxy S22 at first. They've since, there's been I think 1 or 2 updates since then, which is nice. But I do want to preface everything pretty much forward by saying that the future of this device, I think, is much stronger than really any other Samsung phone before. Because Samsung has increased the software longevity of this device, I can only imagine that this device is going to be probably one of the longest lasting Samsung phones they're ever going to make. So because of that, even if there are issues right now, that doesn't mean there are going to be issues forever. So there can be some temporary stuff going on right now, but I do think within probably the next, year, 2 years, this phone is going to find itself at a really good spot where it's, matured in the software standpoint, and it's gone down in the used market so much that you can buy this thing for $200 probably next year or maybe even the year after, and it's going to be a very, very good phone for that price tag. Very similar to how the Galaxy S10, in my opinion, was a very solid phone when it first came out, and I don't even think it had a major hiccup. There were some weird things here and there, but it wasn't until a year after where that phone started depreciating in the used market that became a very good deal. Right now, these things are selling for about $550 to $600 in the used market on a good day. They're still probably selling for a little bit more than that. But the fact that these phones are already depreciating this much is actually not a good telltale sign of a majority of the Samsung phones going in the future. The S22 Ultra is probably going to, hold its value the best. And then if they ever make another Note lineup, the Note lineups actually held their value up a little bit better than, the S series. But nowadays, it's actually in a very strange situation. So I think with the Galaxy S22 about 2 months later, I still think this is a very solid phone. It's obviously everything that the phone was, retailed for. The performance, the cameras, everything is very solid in that standpoint, and I think I've already hit on that a lot. But the things surrounding this phone, like the prices, like the little scandals like the GOS thing, like the future of this phone and the future updates, I think it's going to probably take a couple of months for this phone to find its, way out in a way. So if it already has kind of a smeared name because of the GOS scandal, I think it's going to take just a couple months, and most people don't even know about that GOS scandal, to be honest. So I think it's going to take a couple months here and there for it to kind of, get back into its proper footing, and then it can kind of, have a better future ahead of it. So I like the S22. It's a great phone for the most part, and I'm excited to see what Samsung's going to do in the future. I just hope they don't mess it up. I hope they don't, mess up the software drastically, or they, degrade the battery on this thing like crazy, or there's some huge faulty thing, because I think it has the potential of being a really solid phone in like a year and a half. But I think as of right now, it's probably it's an interesting device. It wouldn't be the first phone I'd recommend people to buy. Honestly, it'd probably be an iPhone 13 or a Pixel 6. But I think the Samsung Galaxy S22 is a very, very awesome phone for sure. So that kind of covers it. If you have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.